If we view our users, if we really care about users, we shouldn't be viewing them as their books and looking at their borrowing behaviors. We should be understanding the underlying psychological underpinnings of what they're doing and why they're doing it. What are they aimed at success? What are their fears? What is their need? So when I was building our career transitions product, the career transitions product with the team there was totally focused on confidence and self-esteem as the output, not delivering an article. And can I increase confidence and self-esteem as we do it? And can I increase learning? The average reference interview for a career interview for a librarian is 30 to 45 minutes. We are not a scalable solution to help people find jobs, even though that's our top 5 thing in public libraries right now. It's a big thing in university guidance areas and stuff. So what do? Well, we got to make it so it's structured into 5 parts. First part, I just got laid off of the production line at GM. I define myself as an auto worker. Coming in, there aren't any auto worker jobs. I don't even know where to start. So my company is the largest builder and seller of career tests in the world. So the first number 1 is start filling out these tests. And we're going to tell you, you've been on a production line for 20 years. 15 of those years you were a supervisor, and for the last 5 years you were a production leader. You know quality control, you know HR, you know how to work in a unionized environment. Like, you need to define yourself differently. It's not being an auto worker, it's being a damn good employee who knows a bunch of stuff that you haven't written a resume in 25 years, but you're a pretty awesome person. So how do we feed that back to them in such a way that it comes in a package that says, I'm not a dead digit on the hands of death auto worker. I've got skills, and I could actually go work in a logistics environment at university, or I could go work in the food production area as a supervisor of a big HMO with 40,000 meals a day, because I know how to manage people, I know how to manage labor in a union environment. Hospitals and universities sort of have a lot of jobs right now. That's the biggest part of the knowledge economy. Then the next layer, do a resume. Do they know how to lay out a resume? No, answer all these questions, and we'll show you 4 different resume versions that will just take your stuff and make it look good. And then we'll store it for you on a server, and we'll give you an email address. Ready to go. Okay, now I've got a resume. What do we see them trying to do when they do that, when they're doing it badly? They go straight to Monster and start looking for a job. They start putting in words like, auto worker. Yeah, maybe somewhere in the world. I'll move to Japan or Ontario, where all the autos are made. So here we are, saying, okay, that's good. Okay, now they've got the resume, that's our stuff. And the resume gives them the keywords, because we can use the resume in Monster as your search term, right? Because if you put your resume on there, it has the artificial intelligence that looks on your resume, says this is what you have. Now I'm going to make suggestions based on who you are when you load it. Third level, where are the jobs? So all those directories and books and stuff that tell you where are things. Okay, that's all in there. We would have as a directory thing in the library, but what does it look like when you're looking for a job? Next level, you've got to go on an interview. You're a guy who's been on a production line for 25 years. How good do you think you are at reading an article on how to do an interview? You're not going to be good at it. Are you good at doing the interview? Yes. Do you have a clue what the 4 main types of interviews are? Reverse chronological, critical event, the stuff that we all know when we go through our interview training, as you're leaving school or as you go looking for a job. So when you're looking at those things, what should I do? Send them a bunch of articles and books online? Yeah, I should give some of that. But we put 700 videos in there where you can watch interviews. And if a guy watches 4 videos of 4 different kinds of interviews, am I increasing his self-esteem and his confidence that I can do that? I can answer all those questions. That doesn't look so hard. This one's just telling a story. This one's just knowing what order I did things in. I'm not an idiot. I know what order I did them in. All good. And then go to monster.com or Workopolis or Hotjar and allow everything to fit in. So how do we design knowledge portals in libraries that actually are the meal that the person wants? In the future, the role of the grocery store database that has all the food in it, but nothing's edible because we don't have the meal. How do we serve meals to people without showing them here's a grocery store and you don't know how to cook. So who's going to be the chef and who's going to be the fast food person and sit between big groups of content and the need of the end user in that world? So when we look at what their needs are, and then align that to psychographic profile, and not worry about Frankenbooks and all that sort of stuff, it's all going to be there. It's all going to be available. But conservatively, by the end of 2011, there will be 150 million books online. Any of you in any of the libraries you have 150 million books. Is that going to be overwhelming to people? Duh. And what does it mean when full text hit magazines? Now full text is hitting books. You can get the API from Google Books right now and make your OPAC full text searchable in about an hour and a half. Not all the books in it, but it's pretty straightforward. How are behaviors going to change? Are people going to get better at asking questions? It's taking you a year or two of professional education just to learn how to improve the quality of questions, which is your core skill. The core skill is not organization. You organize information and label it in order to ask better questions. You learn reference interviewing in order to improve the quality of the question. Improving the quality of the question is our core skill. Who, what, where, when questions, Google does really well. That's why reference is there. How and why questions are the questions of life that society moves on. How do I write a small business marketing plan? Go to Google, type small business marketing. You will find 4 pages of consultants you can pay to write a small business marketing plan for you. Go on to a library OPAC or quality library databases, and you'll get some good articles and some good quotes. Still not good enough, but the how and the why questions. How do I handle my cancer? How do I build, what we're doing right now, I'm doing a project in Florida, where we're doing health and wellness databases, community health stuff. So the number one problem in Florida right now is it's got the fastest growing population of HIV positive people in the world, which is because of Viagra and old people. They are all widows and widowers. They didn't grow up in an era where they had to wear a raincoat. And they were all young during the free love 60s. Now they've got Viagra and they don't have the right sexual behaviors to do. So when they come into our database, if I know your gender and I know your age, I can deliver different responses to a teenager than to a senior citizen. I can deliver different responses to boys or girls. And how do I tune that stuff? And how do we tune things? The difference between when someone comes up to a reference desk, but hopefully just face-to-face instead of having a big desk there. Someone comes up and says, I want to know about divorce. If that kid's in grade 8, you're pretty sure it's their family studies essay, and you ask a few clarifying questions. If it's a 32-year-old woman going, I want to know something about divorce, you know she wants to get rid of 200 pounds of looking fat. When someone types divorce into the Google big box, what's the difference in the answer for the kid in grade 8 or the 32-year-old woman? There isn't one. So, in the magic of libraries, we improve the quality of the question when we see them in person. How are we going to improve the quality of the question when it comes in that way? And now you see what social networking is about and why Facebook is getting their email act together and why Google is trying to get the social pieces into it. Because the social web allows us to understand the nature of the being coming in based on their behaviors. You know that you can go into all those websites and find out what it knows about you. It knows a lot about you. But what's happening with the social web is that we now have the technology catching up with what we care about. Librarians tend to work, the vast majority of us, maybe 90% of us, work in social institutions. Governments, universities, research and development labs, schools, public libraries, social institutions. Now, we've got a social web that actually allows for social interaction. Software is finally coming up and going parallel with something we care about. Every once in a while, I meet a librarian who won't go into Facebook. And they say something like, I'm a good critical thinker, I don't want to give up my privacy. And I'm going, all you're doing is announcing to the world that you have no information literacy skills on how to manage that. You think you're sounding smart, and you're making yourself unemployable. Because no employer wants to have somebody who's that socially disconnected from the world. How do you manage yourself? How do you know how to use the privacy settings? How do you manage this? Because that's what librarians do when they get onto intranets. Just been KM World for the last 2 days, and we were dealing with semantic understanding of when something is private, when something is top secret, and when something is risky. So how do we sense that that's a social security number and not a 10-digit phone number? And how do we know that a 10-digit phone number has a different security issue than a social security number? And who are the people who are going to understand the metadata needs of that stuff? So it makes for some interesting stuff. Anyway, I'm getting into Frankenbooks. I just like this picture. It's an artist who makes things out of paper. Makes them look like a computer. So what's the future of books? Librarians are talking about this book thing instead of talking about reading. And what does reading do? So going back to a 10-year-old boy or a 12-year-old boy in his video game, and you're in a video game, and you say, oh, boys are just so bad, they don't know how to talk, they're becoming antisocial, they're in video games all the time. Yeah, right. They don't have any attention span. People who don't have any attention span are people my age. Kids are in school for 8 hours a day, get to high school at 6 hours a day, get to university at 6 hours a week. Your attention span deteriorates as you get older. The kids can actually focus. And when they're playing that video game, for those of you who play video games, you know it takes 40 days to solve that video game. Now you tell me what it means to have a 12-year-old boy who can commit for 40 days to get through that freaking video game. And remember, on day 3, he picked up a bag of coins, and on day 6, he got a knife, and then on day 12, he got a clue that he could use to slay the Gorgon on level 15 and solve the riddle for the troll that got him through the door that gets him to the next level. And how is that different than working on the Human Genome Project and reading an article and remembering it 3 months later when you're applying to an experiment and then adjusting that experiment as you go along? And what is the role of underpinning episodic reading? The number one cause of the increase of the folds in the brain of the millennial generation is video games. Parents who don't let their kids play video games fundamentally damage them. They have a misunderstanding of what video games do. So if you read the book, whatever, Everything Good is Bad for You, and it's got all the PhD level research in it, or What Video Games Can Teach Us is another great book.